Welcome to the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, a show created to help painting company owners build a thriving painting business that does well over $1 million in annual revenue. I'm your host, Brandon Pierpont, founder of Painter Marketing Pros and creator of the popular PCA educational series, Learn, Do, Grow, Marketing for Painters. In each episode, I'll be sharing proven tips, strategies, and processes from leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their painting business. We will be interviewing owners of the most successful painting companies in North America and learning from their experiences. What is up, everyone? I am live. You got Brandon from Painter Marketing Pros here with Mr. Jason Paris. This is the first Q&A that we are doing in the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast forum group on Facebook. So we are taking a deep dive into his series, A Painter's Dream. It was a 4-episode series. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to watch some and or all of it. It's been released through PCA Overdrive, as well as our site and on our Facebook group. Here's your opportunity to ask Jason questions directly. Be nice to him. He talks a lot about how you guys send him mean emails. Don't send mean emails to Jason. Be nice to him.
A lot of mean tweets from people.
A lot of mean stuff. Jason has his quirks and his viewpoints. Don't be mean to Jason. So ask him your questions. You know, say, hey,
I did actually ask for people to roast me. So
okay, roast them. If you want to roast them,
you'll see how many people show up. But you want to roast me.
If you want to roast them, roast them. We are
going to give it right back.
But Jason's going to come back with you, and then we'll see.
And I will be mean. You want to see what mean looks like.
We'll see how out of hand this gets. Hello, Kaylin. So make sure that you grant StreamYard access to your name. There's a little link we're going to throw up there. That way we know who you are. Otherwise, it's just going to say Facebook user. I think that's Patrick Santucci's here, but it says Facebook user. So Patrick, we're going to throw up a link for you to be able to identify yourself. So to start, to get the ball rolling, Jason, let's kind of do a quick recap of your 4-episode series.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could do that.
Oh, no, it's from you.
Yes. So we talked about a lot of different things. No, we did 4 things. The first one was trends, if I remember correct. Like
it was macroeconomic trends.
We were talking specifically, like there's a lot of hubbubaloo about recession time and business cycles and all that stuff. But you know, there's also macroeconomic trends. There's also, don't forget about the macroeconomic trends. Okay. You gotta remember those.
I don't know what that is.
You got double That's like a double macro, right? So you got double macro, you got your macros, you got your micros, you got your micro works television show. But really, we're talking about recession. Does that matter in our industry? What are the overlying trends? Is talent flighting? Is it entering? Is there more or less demand? Supply and demand. Yeah. I mean, we talked for an hour about supply and demand. Pretty boring stuff. Episode 2, we talked about industry trends. So I think it was largely about the professionalizing of the industry. So there's top talent that is beginning, like you're seeing people come in that are not your stereotypical painting business owner now. And I think that's just the tip of the iceberg, as the kids say, where we're going to see a lot more of that. But some of the trends in the industry around professionalizing, younger talents getting in, a lot more tech savvy, entrepreneurial, things like that. Episode 3, building with the end in mind. Right. So what do you want in life? It's called intentional life design architecture. You get to be, and then most of us are like NPCs, even in our own life, but you get a chance to pop out and play game dev for a little bit. So start to architect that. Talked a little bit, I think, in that episode about exit strategy. So the different potential paths of the exit strategy in a painting company. Episode 4 was wild. Okay. That was pretty inappropriate.
Free for all.
But no, it was great. Episode 4, it was philosophies of business. I don't really remember what happened. I blacked out for most of it, but it was A+ if you want to go on it and watch. I think your like videos that you put out have pretty good summaries on these too. So if I was smart, I would just pull those up. I don't remember if I saw those on YouTube or what, but
yep. No, I think you pretty much nailed it. So in Painter's Dream, you discuss what makes the painting industry so attractive.
Aaron, okay. Can we talk
about whatever you want, man? This is your show.
Okay. Aaron, Edward is not even your last name, first of all. All right. Vitalik. No one can pronounce it, which is probably why you changed it. Or you're going through some midlife crisis. I don't know what's happening. And if it's actually a personal dig, I apologize for that. Your last name's Vitalik. No one can pronounce it. So you're using Edward. That's cute. Second of all, nobody runs the whole ultra marathon. It's not called walking. It's called power hiking. All right. It's called power hiking. No one's walking. You're power hiking. All right. So just chill. Actually, don't chill. Thank you for the roast. I accept it. Is this how you do a roast? How am I supposed to react to these? I know how you roast people, but I don't know how to receive a roast. Haha, that's funny. Your name is, no one can pronounce it, and it's weird.
The first roast, the first arrow has been slung. Jason is a wannabe ultra runner. Really, he walks half the time.
It's power hiking, guys. It's not
50 miles.
I don't know how
walking.
to see the rest of these comments. They go by so fast, and I don't know how to see them. But that's fine.
So, yep, 50 miles walking, 50 miles running for Jason. So he's not a very good ultra runner, but
yeah, I walk a lot. I'll just say on the last race, there were 8 people that were faster than me. So they must have been running a lot, really fast. Right?
Yeah.
Right. If I was running the whole time, I'd be, faster than those 8 other people. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be nice to not let 8 people beat you, but we'll let it go. Cause you did beat, I think, like 100 people or something. So not bad.
Gosh, I'm getting real defensive on these. I don't know if
it's pretty early on to get this heated, but we'll keep rolling with it. It's okay.
Thank you, Sharif. I will stay hard.
I knew I had my hands.
Hopefully that is a David Goggins reference. All right. I hope it is. If it is, then that's appropriate.
Yeah, I love it, David Goggins. So, Jason, you said you had a lot of people reach out to you. Why do I have some echo right now? I don't know. You said you had a lot of people reach out to you after your podcast episodes. What were they saying?
They're saying you're the best. I'm very impressed by you. And okay. I'm just going to let it go. Actually, are you recording these messages? Cause they go off my screen fast and I can't see them.
I will make sure we follow up with all of them.
Okay. A lot of people had questions about all holdings. I'll say that was most of the conversations that ended up happening. It must have been episode 3. I talked about founding partner in All Holdings. All Holdings is the one that operates all of Paris Painting. So I now am able to participate as a passive shareholder in that. We currently have 7 partners across the U.S. If you don't include Paris Painting, of painting companies we've partnered in with to help them scale into a stable asset. So those were most of the questions. Just to shoot you straight on it. That's what popped up. All right. Just Aaron. Okay. There were more than 17 people at this race. And the thing about ultra running is I'm very humble. So I'm actually not going to defend myself. I'm just not. And it wasn't in Minnesota. I'm not going to tell you where it was because it's actually worse. It's actually not worse, depending on, it was in Iowa, but it was in Dubuque, Iowa, which is very close to Illinois, which has a big draw from Chicago. So it's actually, okay. Fred Hamilton, the professional. So I would just say the definition for me.
Well, hold up, Jason. So okay. I'm going to ask it because a lot of people are going to just listen to this or they're listening to it so they can't see it. So Fred asked, Jason, what would be your definition of a professional painting company? As in, what would you say are the minimum, quote unquote, minimum requirements that a client should be able to experience from a professionalized business?
So professional business for me is one that is not simply surviving, but improving, right? In the painting industry over the last 10 years, it's been very easy to survive. If you are not doing well in painting, I don't know what you're doing in your life, because this has been like the biggest gift of soft pillows in economics that we will ever experience. So it is, are you doing the bare minimum when it comes to your clients? So, there are certainly expectations I could list out, but I don't know if that's going to be uniform for every single business or every single person. Do you show up? Do you tell them that you're showing up? What does your communication look like? What does the customer experience look like? What does the product look like? I'm sure there are many different elements to that we could start to freestyle, but it's not just the clients. It's also your whether your employees or your labor. If you're using subcontracting, how well are they treated? Getting by or exceptional? And the last thing would be the business. Right? Is the business just getting by off what that looks like? I would call that profit. Is the owner making good compensation for their work that they're doing in the company? Right. So most people they're doing all the sales, they're doing some project management, and they're getting compensated for those roles, but there's actually not profit in the company if you were to pay a market rate for those two things. A professional company would be one that's not just getting by, but is exceptional and has a profit, a healthy profit at that. All these things about professionalizing, they are what gets you ahead of the curve right now. In a more competitive market, it's what allows you to survive or stay above water. Right? The unprofessional companies are the ones that will go under, rightfully so. The professional ones are the ones that will continue to grow or maybe even just survive, depending on what their state of professionalism is and how hard of the downturn it is there.
Yeah, I love it. So you're basically, you break it up into three different avenues that you're looking at. Number one is how you actually treat your customers. For most of the people listening, homeowners, it could be commercial property owners. How are you treating them? How are you communicating with them? They're not mind readers. You guys go out and do this stuff every day. You go out and conduct estimates every day, go out and paint houses, but they don't actually know the process. So are you telling them, hey, we're going to show up to your house at this time. This is about how long it's going to take. This is our process. This is what you can expect from us. And then when you come back, you say, hey, this is how long it's going to take us to do your interior repaint. This is what touch-ups, what our process is for touch-ups. If there are any issues, here's how we handle them. Here's our satisfaction guarantee, our workmanship warranty, whatever you offer, communicate, convey that trust to them so they know they're taken care of. And that's what most people think of when they think of professional business. But then you're taking it farther. You're taking it, okay, how do you treat your labor? Whether it's independent contractors, whether it's W-2, that's a big piece of the business, your homeowners or your end customer, your labor. And then something way beyond what most people are thinking about is actually the business, the equity in the business. If you're paying yourself, people think, oh, I made $100,000. I made $200,000. I'm making good money. Well, what are all the jobs you're doing? If you're doing sales, you're going out, answer the phone, you're doing estimating, you're doing project management. If you actually hire people for all that stuff, maybe you're not making anything. Maybe you're making negative. Yeah. So treating the business as a business, not as a job that you just work really hard to hustle and make money.
Yep. Yeah. For the client side, if I were just to riff off of it, there's communication, there's level of care, and there's the product. Right? Communicating, like you said, Brandon, they're not mind readers. And think about your own experience, whether it's going to a restaurant or getting your car fixed or getting a service on your own home, right? You want to see a level of care. You want to see good communication. You want to see a good product, right? And the labor, I would just say the labor is like one of the genesis of why this industry has so many challenges, right? One of the big origin stories in our industry is I worked for a guy and it was pretty bad. So I started my own company, right? Yeah. That's where all these businesses come from. That's where a lot of them come from, right? I worked for a guy, and you know what the second part of that is going to be, and it did not go so well, right? Because it typically doesn't. There aren't many professional companies. The onboarding for most companies is come here, learn by osmosis. If you get me in a tight pinch, I may give you a raise. I may not. Depends how hard you fight for it. What are the expectations? Who knows? That's not everybody. I do also think we talk macro trends. I do think the industry is shifting and changing towards professionalism, but that by and large has been the experience that most people have received. And it's no wonder it's hard to retain or attract, not retain, hard to attract top talent into this industry, given the experience that most people would have.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. I've seen job postings for, hey, don't show up drunk, do this, don't do that, make sure you do this, have to have that. Yeah. There's absolutely no mention of, hey, this is your opportunity at the company. This is what you can expect. If you're, we like to promote from within, move up to middle management. There's none of that. It's just, hey, you must do this and you must not do that. You don't attract the right kind of
low pay, not a great environment. The only attractive components of getting into that is there's no drug test and no background check. Otherwise, why would you become a painter? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. So a little love for Jason. So that's nice. P.S. I love you, Jason. Real question for Jason. Can you talk about the strategy behind building a leadership/executive team and tell a bit about the story of how you did it?
Yeah. So strategy would be a series of plans. If I was thinking about the strategy of building a leadership team. So you don't want to lose your identity. We'll start with that basis. You want to understand your core values, hire that, and make sure you don't lose it. So that's going to be core to who you bring on. You want to get people that are smarter than you, better than you, and hyper specialized in their roles. So when you're a founder, you're typically good at everything. You have to be to get something off the ground. Otherwise, it'll immediately sink. But you're typically not going to be hyper specialized on the managerial level at anything. You're an entrepreneur. You like creativity. You like chaos. You like the lack of rules, lack of structure, and the motivation that comes from the potential to fail disastrously. Right? that all those things are kind of the opposite of what you're hiring for. How you do it is there's no magic bullet. Otherwise, people would be building successful businesses left and right, and they're actually pretty rare. Something that helps is having a strong network of individuals. And so, like people flock together. And when you're the entrepreneur of the group, you create the opportunities that other people can come in and perform within that and generate value. It also, let me think about how I want to say this. It also helps if you can give people upside, right? That's probably the easiest way. If you can give people upside. So a lot of people are not going to be very excited about joining a painting company on the executive team level unless there's a real strong vision to cast. So I'd say that's the number one element of recruiting and strategizing with the leadership team is what is the vision? What is the likelihood of that vision? How do you cast that vision? How you use that as an attraction? Make sure you don't lose your core values and your identity along the way. Know that you're not hiring more of yourselves. You're hiring managers and executives, not entrepreneurial creative founders. Yeah, that I think that's how I'd answer that question, at least right off the top of my head.
Following up on that, would you, because you're talking about hiring, would you primarily be looking outside the company for this, or would you look internally?
So we start internally and then we'll go outside. So I'd say it's pretty rare, especially early on, that you're going to have executive team caliber people with you in the field. It happens. And so it's not, but it's more of a unique event. It's great if you can promote within, because then you can retain the culture and the identity a lot easier. There's kind of a math equation of how many of your roles for the next year, and this is tough to do in a high growth company, right? How many of your roles in the next year do you have, you call it like a risk of culture because they're coming from the outside, they haven't been internally vetted, but then you need to balance that. And it's a nice edge of how many roles on the executive or managerial team are now at a risk because they don't have the proven performance track record of that role. Right? So someone internally is getting promoted. They're now getting promoted to something they haven't done. So there's a risk that you want to put in the org chart on that. But if you promote somebody from the outside that has done that role before, they have a proven track record, you're now taking a risk on your culture. So that's something you want to monitor back and forth. It's hard to do in a high growth company. Sometimes you get lucky or you don't. And those can be big impacts for like a 1 to 2 to 3 year sprint. But by and large, yeah, look inside first if you can. At least be aware, there's not a magic number, but be aware of the percentage of risk on your org chart for people who have not performed in that role before, and weigh that with your risk profile as an investor or as the owner.
Are you, in general, when you're hiring, are you quick to hire, quick to fire, slow to hire, quick to fire? What's your approach?
I don't hire that many people anymore. So I don't know what the answer is. Probably slow to hire, quick to fire. I think that's what you want to hear.
I think that's the textbook answer, I think.
I'll give the textbook answer there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, everything that we've seen in the company, firing quickly is the way to go.
Yep. Yeah. As soon as you realize they're toxic or not going to be a good fit there, it's usually.
Yeah. It's like, we're all pretty pain avoidant individuals. I am, for sure. I like to avoid pain.
That's why you run 100 miles. Yep.
But it's more painful in the long run to not deal with that.
Yep. So Kaylin, thank you for coming and participating. She said, if you had to start all over again, what would be the top 3 things you would hit first?
I'd remember all the lessons I learned first, because that's a big part of starting something, is you're going to learn a lot of lessons along the way. So, but the number one thing would be, reaching out and having a network of individuals. That's so easy to do nowadays. Back in my day, when I started, I tried being the happy-go-lucky guy that was nice to everybody at Sherwin, and a lot of weird dudes out there. And they'd be like, "What? I don't want to talk to you. I don't. What is cooperation? I'd rather have a limited mindset." And so it took me a while to find the PCA. It took a while for the internet chat groups to start popping up. I think I've had a pretty big impact in my local area on forming cooperation groups that are willing to communicate. But
Gomp,
gathering in Minnesota painters. But I would say number one thing would be finding a group of people you can interact with that are also painting business owners, ideally in your geographical area, if not outside of that. From there, you're going to learn a lot of different things. And I mean, I don't know what I would do different. I mean, there's certainly many things I would do differently, but so much of what I did were lessons I learned that helped me along the way.
Yeah, awesome. So Dave Pine, thanks for joining us, man. He said in the mini series you mentioned platforms that help painters start and scale these days. What would you use or recommend if you were just starting?
Probably Google spreadsheets because it's super malleable, super adaptable. You're not going to be locked into a thing. You don't have a huge, I don't know, hopefully not a huge growth curve. If that's a huge growth curve for you, then it's going to be even tougher to adopt software. At some point, you want to switch over to software, and that's a whole deep dive we get into of, what is it like to have completely open worlds of data and information, and then you transfer to more of a gate, lock and step, environment that's with software. But I would start, the power of spreadsheets is very underutilized and underappreciated. But the tools that are available today, I mean, just think in the 1980s, people were operating with beepers and maps, right? Now we have GPS and instant communication tools. That alone makes it way, way easier to scale a company than it was, is that 40 years ago already? Okay, that's a long time ago. 80s are 40 years ago. So maybe that's ancient history for most of the group here. But I think having an appreciation for the tools that we have at our fingertips today is always something to keep top of mind. I don't know if we fully appreciate what's like to have real-time communication with anybody in the field, for people to be able to navigate their city or geographical area without domain expertise of all the roads and cities and turns and corners, or even the ability to have forward referencing calculations like spreadsheets have, right? These are not manual calculations. It's going to take a ton of bandwidth and brute force. It's instantaneous. And I don't think these things are fully appreciated.
Awesome. So someone asked, this is an interesting question. It's a different kind of question. It says, how does your understanding of the main man, Mr. Jesus Christ, inform your business values? How much of an impact does your personal beliefs translate to company culture?
Yeah, I think so. Company culture is going to be an extension of either the founders or the primary shareholders, typically. So I would say I'll start with Olive Holdings. A big part of our vision is to harness and democratize the equity in painting companies. And so it's not, I don't know, that's a pretty deep question. And I would say in general, we like to teach people how to fish. And we believe that if we do that with others, that's going to have a pretty big impact. I'd say practically, we do. You don't even want to talk about it because then it loses its meaning. But we donate quite a bit of money to local nonprofits in our area. That's something that I think is a practical show through of what our personal beliefs are. On the meta side, if you look at the vision and the value, or the vision and the goals of Olive Holdings. Okay. Conquering the fear of mammon is a core value and a core passion. Mammon means a lot of things to a lot of different people. It's the word that is used when I think it's in Matthew. It says you cannot serve both God and money. The word is mammon. Mammon to me and to my partners means any system or structure that man creates to enslave itself. This could be financials, the most common one, right? This could be greed. It could be pride. It could be envy. It could be fear. It could be self-doubt. These are all things that you now serve, and you're not able to serve what is your true calling, right? So mammon is like the enslavement that we can only put on ourselves, right? How do you break free from mammon? And it's really a fear of mammon. How do you break free from the fear of mammon? There's two ways. There's the shalom, right? There's the peace of God. There's also this practical application of having your assets outweigh your liabilities in life, right? And so that's like a pretty long answer, but hopefully it gets us a little bit there of if we can help people build assets in their lives, it's conquer the fear of mammon. I think that's a way that our beliefs in our faith has come to fruition in our businesses.
Awesome. So yeah, the one of the takeaways. So sometimes I have a hard time following you, Jason. You're pretty advanced in your verbiage. Sometimes we'll say. What I kind of took away from that was largely lead by example, better people's lives, give them the ability to have assets that outweigh their liabilities, and through doing such, you have a certain belief system about helping people and improving the world. You living that belief system. Improving, donating nonprofits, things of that nature, bettering your employees, bettering the homeowners. That's kind of how you integrate these personal beliefs that would maybe be kind of difficult to maybe directly implement into a business.
Yep.
That I don't know, man. That's what I heard, but
I get it.
you can correct me if I'm off on this one.
No, it's good.
Okay.
A+.
Okay.
We'll go to the next one.
All right. That sounds good, man. Will there be another Paint by Numbers event this year?
Yes. So we're going to start. I think we've got some collateral that's being put out at Expo. It is going to be, you can mark your calendars now. I don't know, June. So right now it's slotted for June 21st and 22nd. 21st, 22nd of June.
June 21st and 22nd.
But yeah, Paint by Numbers, that's something we did in 2019. I think it was December 2019 for the first time. Obviously, we didn't do it in 2020 and 2021 because of restrictions and governments and hotels. But in 2022, we brought it back for the first time. Huge success. And we're going to do it again in 2023. It's basically looking at Paris Painting, Olive Holdings. How do we operate this company in a way that's scaled to stability and passive ownership, and do that in an open book style. So completely open up our books, shared templates. We have key speakers from different parts of the company. So Mark, he runs 8 figures worth of production. Micah, same thing for sales. And Alex talks about boring stuff like trends and P&Ls and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a great time. I'd highly recommend it. Come to the Twin Cities in middle to late June. Paint by Numbers.
Love it. Is there a place that people, is there a web page or anything? People
no website, anything. Nope, doesn't exist. No, I'm sure it will. So we do this in conjunction with the PCA. I'm sure once Expo, it's announced at Expo, it'll be on their website. I would reference the PCA website for the event.
Awesome. Okay. And yeah, we'll get a link up to that in our group as well when that web page is live.
Yeah.
Someone threw a little shade at Wallogy. I don't know if that was actual shade or a dig, because I don't know who said it. It says Facebook user, but I don't know if you want to talk about Wallogy. They said, why is Wallogy such crap software? Who designed it? So I don't know if you want to respond to that.
It's hard to build software that, can run an 8-figure painting company, right? Because there aren't that many of them, right? So it's a novel challenge, right? It's pretty easy to design software for a lot of painting companies that don't make any money and don't have stability in their businesses. But no, it's that's been a passion project of mine, is building out the software that we operate Paris Painting off of. It's also software that our partners operate out of. I'm not sure if they're being serious or not, but it is a work in progress. This is something that we're continually iterating and adopting, and it's not an easy thing, nor is it cheap, but it gets better every day. It's the best thing that I've found on the market for how we want to run the companies. If there was an easier solution, I would have bought it. I'm a capitalist, not an egotist. And but yeah, I'm not sure if there's shade or not. But if it's real shade, I would just say, check in every month. It adopts pretty quickly. But if they're joking around, I'd say, it's a thing that I've enjoyed being a part of.
Yeah. So Wallogy, so you do roll that out. You include that for all your partners at Olive Holdings?
Yeah. Well, right? Yeah. I mean, they don't have to, but we highly recommend
it's an option though.
Most people will take on Olive Holdings as a partner because they want some domain expertise and support in scaling their business into an asset. And so we'll come in and say, here's a software we recommend you operate on. We can lean in the best and support you if you're running on this, because now all the companies are. So it's pretty easy for us to run reports and ID the key issues and identify where we should lean in as a partner to help solve the gap. But in theory, it's up to everybody. But I would not expect Olive to partner with somebody if they didn't want, Olive to be involved in their company. Yeah.
So let's touch base on it for a second, because a lot of people are listening to this are not really going to understand what Wallogy is. It's a CRM.
It's software. It's called an enterprise resource platform. So you guys have all been around softwares and painting companies, and it's the basic premise is having all of it into one spot. So this is something we started building for Paris Paintings about 4 or 5 years ago, knowing that we would grow it into a larger holdings. And so instead of having all these different apps in many different spots, we put into one spot, custom fit to how we want to run the painting company, right? So there's a real dichotomy, and there's a lot of different solutions out there. I'm not knocking. I mean, there's a lot of great solutions out there, right? More power to everybody. I can already see the tweets coming. They're gonna be mean.
But this person, just as a heads up, this person did say that they were joking about that, but it gave us a topic to discuss here. So
I would just say, I'll say, like, this is not something that we sell. I'm not interested in selling software. Don't have any interest in selling software. Don't have any interest in that, because there's a very real difference between a product that you use for performance and a product that you use to sell, or that you build for performance and a product that you build to sell. Right? If you're gonna, and the painting contractors are the worst. I've told they're just the worst. If you're gonna try and build a product to sell to painting contractors, they don't know what they want. They don't know what they need. They have like all these I'm just gonna say it. They have these stupid ideas of things that they think are going to take them to the next level, and they're the dumbest things. Like it's like hiring a marketing company for the last 10 years. Who has a hard time marketing?
I don't know why.
When you have this giant tailwind of an economy, with the boomers are retiring now in 2023. Brandon, I'll give you some credit. Okay, maybe now is the time.
I don't know why I have you on these things.
Maybe now is the time to hire a marketing company. But I'll just say, in general, painters are the worst. The pool of professional contractors that could actually adopt a software that's custom crafted to scale to 8 figures, that has all the reporting in that allows for passive ownership, it's going to be so minutely small. It's software that we built for our company and our partners, knowing that you're building it for performance, not for marketing and sales.
Love it. All right.
It's an object-based oriented software off of C# language. It's called Wallogy because I used to have this giant metal wall in my office, and I would take subway tiles, put maintenance on the back, and write the project name and have different key bits of information on there. And I would drag it around on the wall, but then I would have to re-enter that information to a spreadsheet, and they didn't talk to each other. This is like the main feature of the software when we first came up with it, was you'd have this giant scheduling wall of visualization, but then it would back end communicate all the metadata and it would update in real time. Now it's much more robust than that. Obviously, it's where we do all of our bidding. We pay all the subcontractors through there, all the financial reporting, real-time communication. It's all in one spot. But Wallogy, because we used to operate the company off of like a giant wall.
I love it. So Fred Hamilton Emery has a very specific question for you regarding an Olive Holdings partnership. He says, what are the non-negotiable changes that an Olive partner needs to make to their company upon entering into a partnership agreement, i.e., software implementation, taking an owner's salary, can't take on additional partners / debt, etc. Mm-hmm. And well, let's actually hit that. And then he's got a second part. Let's hit that. That's a lot.
All right. So I'll just say fundamentally, Olive Holdings is not going to partner with a company that they don't believe is a good investment. Right. So if we don't believe we can come in and add value, then we're gambling. We're buying something that is likely going to go down, because most founders are going to burn out over a period of time. Just call a spade a spade. Let's try to think of like real non-negotiables. Because in theory, you could dig in your heels on one thing, but if you're doing everything else, we'd say, yeah, I still think that if Olive invests in this company, we come alongside as partners, that the performance of this asset could improve and over a period of time become more stable. So it's hard for me to call out anything specific with that. This gets into the nuance of how we've decided to do these things. So we set up a legal entity. It ends up being manager managed with the founder listed as the manager, or the legacy owner, right? So that the person we partner with ends up being the manager of the company. So they have all the cart control. They can do anything they want, right? There are a few limitations, like you can't take on $1 million of debt in our name, right? You can't do that. You need us to sign off on it. It's good to think about it too. If you were ever to become a passive owner in this asset that we now are jointly building together, what rules or what restrictions would you want the manager that we've now hired to have, right? If you're a passive owner in this business because Olive Holdings has come alongside you and scaled it up and now you're able to be passive, would you want the manager that gets hired to have the ability to take on a new building mortgage in like downtown Seattle? You'd be like, frick no, Seattle's a gong show, right? Do not buy real estate in Seattle. That's a terrible thing. You just put me on the hook for something really bad. So those, I don't know if that answers the question completely, but
yeah,
a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it mostly answers it. There are certain restrictions in place probably to prevent just incredible liability. That doesn't make any sense. But overall, you guys are pretty amenable to
the way that we've set it up. Is we like the founder, the legacy owner, to maintain operational control. So it's not a board run LLC. It's a manager managed LLC with the founder listed as the manager. So they can choose to ignore everything that we want to do to an extent, with the exception of taking on a ton of debt in our names or things like that.
And so the actual legal entity, it's almost like you guys create a holding company and then they get the majority of it and you guys own a minority partnership in that holding company.
Yeah. So if we want to get into like the nitty gritty of it, what we do is we end up starting a new company. So it's truly a new venture with a DBA of the legacy company, and that founder contributes their company's goodwill, assets, brand, the momentum of the business for majority ownership. And then we will come in as a minority owner, sometimes bringing cash, sometimes not, depending on the performance of the asset. And we will come in as an operating supporting partner, right? And the idea is, to the extent that there are gaps. So what we're not doing is consulting, right? That is like, I mean, I don't know if we should get into this now because I'll get into it for a long time, but we're not coming in and telling you what to do, because the internet has proven that Americans are still very out of shape and they have access to all the information. The reality on these companies is you can hire a consultant, you can hire a coach, and those are great things. And we work with coaches who are phenomenal. I know coaches are phenomenal, but it's really the integration of those plans, those concepts, those strategies that determines whether a company gets built or not. There's a difference between planning and building. And a lot of times most people are not going to build a company on their own. Very, 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 very few companies get built to stable, passive asset class with one person. Right? It's usually a village of people that it ends up taking. It's nice if that village has some heavy domain expertise, as well as having done it before. That's the concept of Olive Holdings.
Yeah, love it. And you talk a lot about kind of being able to see around those future bends in the road, problems and situations that people who haven't been there don't even know exist.
Right. This is a conceptual, whether it's scaling a painting company, or let's say I bought real estate, commercial real estate in Ohio. I would want to partner with someone who's done a lot of commercial real estate before, right? Because I don't know what I'm getting into. I think I know. Actually, I don't. I have no idea. Right. So if you're gonna get into investing, it's nice to do it with partners. Everything I do is with partners, whether it's raising a family with my wife, who is my partner in that, buying real estate, building multifamily housing. That's all done with my partners. Same thing with painting businesses.
Yep. Yeah. So if you're not running an 8-figure painting company, so you're doing over 10 million, then odds are that Olive Holdings has some information that they could share with you.
Even if you are, right? You may want to diversify and start to realize some of the equity that you have.
Yep. Fair enough. So the second follow-up to that from Fred was, is there a typical percentage revenue growth target you're looking for your partners to achieve during the first few years?
It's very variable depending on what they're up to. So I like 100% growth. So like I said, we have 7 partners outside of Paris Painting right now. You have some that have doubled. You have some that have had like low double-digit percentage growth, right? And a lot of it, I think, is dependent on how entrenched they are in their current systems, right? Because there's like these 2 ideologies. There's a lifestyle business, which, so people have heard me talk about this. There's a lifestyle business, which is phenomenal. I love people who have lifestyle businesses. Charlie Munger, he was like a lifestyle business as a lawyer, a nice lawyer degree. Those are great because you can really, really squeeze out the cash in the business, and it'll operate as long as someone is there as a high performer to make it churn. There's another philosophy or path of life where it's not about squeezing every dollar of profit out of this entity. It's ensuring that there's stable, passive cash flow for the years and decades to come, right? And those are 2 different ideologies, 2 different philosophies. Neither one is right or wrong, but one is an investor, another owns a job, who can now use that job to become an investor in other asset classes.
Yep. So Chase had a question, and actually Brandon Weicher's there. I think they're going to connect offline, but he said, what would you consider a good win to lose ratio for competitive bid, i.e. government commercial projects where low number wins? I don't know if this is something you have dealt with.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'll tell you in general, so here's a philosophy of residential. I have no idea about commercial. I don't know that world. I think it depends on how good you are at bribing or bullying or blackmail. I think those are the 3 ways you win.
All good stuff.
Those would be like the 3 we talked about strategies.
The triple B.
Triple B. Bullying.
Better Business Bureau. Bribing, bullying.
I would just say in residential, which is what I know, residential, if you show up, when you say you're going to show up, you could put the estimate in a pile of poop on their front door, and you'll probably book a third of the jobs, right? It is like just show up, give a bid. You don't have to find their needs. You don't have to get them to trust you. You just show up and give a quote, do the bare minimum. You will likely book a third of the jobs, right? There's a third of the jobs if you did everything perfect, crisp, pre-call, sent them all, you classified everything, you sent them everything beforehand, found every need, handled every objection, polished presentation, great follow-up, strong close. There's a third of them they'll never buy from you. They're either not getting their house painted for real, or you're just not a value fit for what they're looking for. It's that middle third that the skill of the sales presentation is going to determine. Right? Now you need to make sure you have accurate estimating. There's two components here. There's estimating and sales. Those are two very different things. Estimating is finding accurate scope of work and assigning the proper resources to it. The sales skill is pulling out needs, validating, presentation, close, all those elements, right? And I would say you're really fighting for that middle third, and maybe perfect would be 66% if you do the math, right? 33 plus 33. But yeah, that's kind of my philosophy on residential. It wasn't the question, but you can't break it up into thirds. Third you never get, third you always get. Fight for that middle third. If you want to get into government work, you got to bully, you got to bribe, you got to blackmail.
Love it. Yeah, the 66% close rate.
Don't audit me.
That's what you said. It's recorded. It's live. These are Jason Paris's words. That's what you have to do.
Let me just delete that part real quick.
So another anonymous Facebook user. I like this question. What is Olive Holdings' current BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal, and why?
BHAG would be 100 million top line. And
that is
why?
Nice.
I don't know, that sounds like fun. No, it'd be a lot of business owners, a lot of families. So what we had said? We had said 100 families making $100,000 or more passively. That's our goal. Right?
That's awesome.
So, we have multiple BHAGs out there, so don't do the math on those first two because I don't know if they fully align. But the BHAG is around, can we get 100 families making $100,000 or more? That's one of the goals that we have.
So that would be 100 painting company partners that have partnered with you where they're making over 100 grand.
It could be them. It could also be some of their key staff, right?
Ooh, yeah.
We may say like,
Multiple
hey, here's
people
someone that's been with you since the beginning. They're part of a builder.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have real upside, right? Because you say, hey, I've partnered with Olive Holdings. Now we're really going to scale this company and pour some gas on it. And if you want to continue to be a builder, a key driver in this business, equity could be on the table for that individual. Yeah. Right. So it may not just be the business owners. It might be some of their key staff that can participate in that upside as well. Man,
that's exciting. I love that BHAG. That is, I love that one so much more than just the top line revenue. Top line revenue is what you always hear. I like 100 million because that's a big one. But 100 families.
I just made that one up. So I'll just say that first.
Did you just make it up?
Yeah,
Did you just make that up? You didn't make up the 100 families though.
No, that's a real one. Okay. That's documented in our vision quest that we did out in Idaho.
Okay.
We did not do peyote or anything like that, but we did have a vision quest.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that one a lot. So another Facebook user, I like this one. Accountability. How do you hold crew leaders accountable for not leading? That's interesting. Hitting goals, profit margins, painters not abiding by SOPs.
You don't give them the option. You don't make it optional. So if you're talking about compliance, people don't comply if it's the what's it called? Take the path of most resistance. People like the path of least resistance. If you give them an option to do the path of most resistance, typically they're not going to take it. So you don't make it an option. And whether you are leading with a carrot or a stick, this is your job, right? And sometimes a lot of these items are either there's not buy-in, they're not believed in on every level, or they may actually be working against the well-being, the productivity of the individual, but for the holistic good of the company. So I'll give you an example would be sales reps. Sales reps are the worst. I hate salespeople. I never talk to anybody in our company that sells paint jobs. They just drive me nuts.
Yeah, you kind of need
somewhat of a joke there, but not joking too much. We ask a lot from our salespeople as far as compliance and data and collections, and it's a lot for them to do because they're not good at many things in life outside of selling paint jobs. That's a subtle dig, but a lot of the admin things are not their skills. And it actually
get these hate tweets and stuff. I see why this
good
happens.
Thing we can edit this on the back end. A lot of these things are not beneficial to them selling revenue that day, right? but they are beneficial to the project managers, to the coordinators, to the executives that have to manage the trends of the business. And so we're actually asking them to do things that are counterproductive to their individual goals, but benefit the company holistically. And how you set up the proper carrots and proper sticks to drive that behavior is what I would call appropriate architecture of a painting company.
Interesting. So maybe like incentivized compensation. So profit margins, things like
compensation. It could be what are they called? Verbal kind things that you say to people.
Attaboys.
Attaboys.
Using DISC maybe. Jason Phillips is big on communicating with people the way they like to be communicated with.
Right. It's different. And I would just say, if we could solve performance with money, praise the Lord, hallelujah. That would be awesome. Money does not drive everybody. And you can't just buy performance in a business. You need leaders, you need managers, you need soft skills. That's worth a lot. And I would just say in our company, we pay a lot of money for people that are good at that.
Yep.
Because you can't just, if I could solve all of our business needs with money, Yahtzee, game over, super easy, right? One of the biggest challenges as you get to scale is how do you lead? How do you not just manage, but how do you influence, right? Those are the things that have a lot of value.
Yeah. Yeah. People problems is a tough thing, right? How to make it all work.
Yep.
So Brandon Weicher said, what are the top 3 marketing areas where most of your leads come from for new clients?
I would just say that changes every single time somebody asks me this. So right now, I would just, so people who have followed me for a long time, flyers and single piece actionable flyers have been our bread and butter for a really long time. These are flyers that are individually hung on door handles. They're like got this rubber T-band on. Someone has to engage with the piece standalone. That has given us by far the highest ROI. That's been like fun. Saw a huge drop in the ROI this spring on that. Sorry, last spring on that. And so now we pivot, we shift, we go a little sneaky. Canvassing, door-to-door canvassing right now is our highest ROI activity. We do a lot of different things. If you're talking about new clients, it's going to be number 1 is repeat referral. So referral work would be number 1, 2, job site marketing, 3, whatever the hot active thing of the day is. And then there's 20 other tactics. Our director of marketing is always trying at any different moment, seeing where the trends are moving and what we want to pour gas on or pull off.
Love it. So yeah, you have to be adaptive. Things change. Your ROI on different marketing channels change. You don't want to be fully dependent on one channel because that is not.
That's
good.
actually if there's more than 15% of your resources, probably more than 15% of your outcomes coming from a single resource, that's a red flag for stability. And I don't care if that's marketing. I don't care if that's labor. I don't care if that's electricity. I don't know what else you could have. Those are like the 2 main inputs. But I say that's like a red flag for us. That's a red flag for me as a passive owner of Paris Painting. I don't want to see any single thing getting too high. And that's actually something this is interesting. Like this was 2 years ago. We started to de-risk ourselves from flyers because we were saying like, hey, this is great. I love the ROI. But what if? And so you start to think more long-term about the stability of your asset, not just the short-term performance.
So Brad Ellison, nice little comment.
Next.
Second, yeah, all right, we'll skip it.
No, just kidding.
Not even gonna say it. His second best live event today. Brad had his own live event, so he's just letting us know that we're doing okay, but not quite as good as he is. Fred said that he
looked jacked during that interview too. I don't know if he had like a pump going on, but that guy's got some.
He probably had a protein smoothie.
He had some good delts and some good traps.
He nice pumped before that. You 100% know that he pumped before that. So Fred said he's in person in Minnesota. It was an eye-opening experience in how Olive works with their partners and why. So that's really cool. John asked, what are some items or areas that you are currently working to improve or grow in? Personal, professional, family, whatever you feel like sharing. What's your next win?
Okay. Should I just pull this up? So
I don't know.
For Q1,
I'm kind of nervous, but okay, you do you.
So Q1, I have my like personal side. In that within it, there are 3 buckets. There's spiritual, physical and mental. Spiritual, working on some scripture memory. Physical, it's a lot of maintaining. So I'm maintaining a lot of my rocks. So I have a workout plan, smoothies, healthy snacks, sauna, cold tub, Theragun, foam roll, stability work, stretch work, no caffeine or alcohol. And I'm trying what's called a plant slant diet this quarter. Don't ask me about it. Ask me about it in person. I love talking about it, but it's going to annoy a lot of people. Mentally, really working on my pre-sleep routine and then maintaining my morning routine. That's it for Q1. It's pretty easy. The next big category is family. So there's personal, spiritual, physical, mental. Then there's family, wife, children, estate. Wife, recording. So I'm recording how I help around the house every single day. It's my personal thing because I think that's what's going to bless her the most. Children, I read them a book and we do cuddles every night. And I'm doing a work day with each kid this quarter. I'm almost there. On the estate, we're doing some work on our fireplace. So I'm getting all that scheduled. And I'm cleaning up a punch list that I have from when we moved into our house 4 years ago. That's Q1 for family. The last category is world. And so I have my vocation and I have helping others. Vocation, largely around the apartments. So I have some systems I'm setting in there. I don't want to bore people too much. Helping others. I'd like to have a clean handoff to Mr. Slavic for chair of the board with the PCA. Nice. And I'm starting a content something. So I've been doing like these weird, confusing video clips once a week. Those are things I'm progressing on in my personal, family, and world for Q1. Passion for the personal is realizing human potential. Passion for the family is founding family legacy. Passion for the world is conquering the fear of mammon.
That's awesome. I know John is going to love that answer. Thanks for that in-depth response. Someone asked, long-term, how do you see the 1099 model being able to professionalize and scale while at the same time being attractive to new talent and labor versus the W-2 model?
So 1099 right now works really well. If you think about 65% of the labor being Hispanic, and a lot of Hispanics are immigrants, and people come to America to live the American dream, which a lot of times is framed as self-employment or business ownership. So it's a great way to have that badge of honor of owning your own company when you're 1099 without necessitating all the different value add areas of the business. Right? So someone may be a really good painter, but they may not have the emotional intelligence to interact with the client. They may not have all the abilities to do an estimate. It's actually a pretty hard thing to do accurately. They may not have all the organizational skills to have a job, get scheduled and happen at the right time and stay on that project the whole time. Or even the cash flow management that's required to cash flow the whole thing. But if someone's really good at painting, they can do that really well. Scaling that makes it a lot simpler because you're looking at people who are specialists instead of having larger or more generalists. So there's a bigger pool to pull from. It also works really well in the northern half of the US because it's very seasonal. So instead of having to scale up and scale down through the employee model, you can grab and then release 1099 subcontractors. What was was there another part of that question?
It's basically, how does it compare to the W-2 model in terms of professionalizing and attracting the talent?
For professionalizing, I'd say they're obviously both great models. They both have the pros and cons. Subcontracting is not an easy button. W-2 is not an easy button for a lot of things that it gets told that it's really good for. I think a lot of it depends on the strengths of either the founder or the executive team. And so there are some people who are really, really good at the craft of training painters, and I would recommend a W-2 model for them. There are people who are really, really good at the craft of logistics, and I'd recommend a 1099 model for them. I think you can scale a lot. I think it's pretty clear you can scale a lot quicker with the 1099. And with those scales of top line revenue, you're able to afford the different layers of management that help necessitate, or they're not necessary for professionalism. I don't know if there's definitely not a right or wrong. There's a reality of what is the labor percentage wise in this industry and what are their preferences. But both are great models. At Paris Painting, we started out all W-2, then we went 50-50. All W-2, sprinkled in some subs, 50-50. There were mostly subs with some employees. Then we were almost all subs. And now the pendulum starting to go back the other way. So there's no right or wrong. Paris Painting has been through every evolution, and it really depends on what the needs of the moment are.
Yeah, I think people have this sort of misconception that if you use 1099s, and then you can't professionalize. But ultimately, if you're using 1099 crews, you treat them like employee. You develop that kind of relationship. You can
I
still
don't think,
maintain
I
the
mean, I
same.
think that was an issue maybe 5 years ago. If you said you use subcontractors, it's kind of almost a dirty word. And it was
Mhm.
like the one thing that the franchisors got right. I'm not going to bash them too much till I'm not the chair of the PCA anymore. But yeah, using 1099s, I don't know if that's a big issue right now or head trashing in the industry. I was just say the only people who care are painting contractors who think they're God's gift to earth because they only use W-2. Nobody else cares, right? I think it's interesting to kind of track the different head trash cycles that you have in the industry, right? So I do think 1099 or subcontracting was a head trash area in years past. And then I don't know. I could future cast. I could say what they currently are right now, but if somebody asks, we'll get into it.
Okay. Someone asked, do you partner outside the US for
We're
our folks?
exploring somebody in Canada. It's basically if we feel like they're going to be a great fit and if they're committed to, then we'll go through the legalese of what that actually means. But probably not. I mean, Canada is basically northern Minnesota.
Yep.
So that's about it.
Pretty close. How does the Olive partner model differ from running a painting franchise?
Okay. So franchising, there's how do I say this kindly? It's basically incentive architecture. There's two things. One is incentive architecture. So I'm going to go real hard against franchising. So if you are a franchisor or you sell
Plug your
franchisors on
ears.
the side,
Turn off now.
send me the tweets. Right.
Okay.
That's a great place to put the hate mail because I never read them. Okay. If I'm going to go real hard slant against franchising, it would be, I'm going to hire somebody. I'm going to sell you a franchise. And as long as you have the cash, this works great for me. Right. I really hope that you're successful and profitable. I hope you are. I hope so much.
Godspeed. Thanks for
You
your
are
money.
going to spend a lot on marketing because at the end of the day, I'm getting a percentage of your revenue either way. Even if there's a loss, I'm going to take that. My worst day is I get to resell that territory because you cacked. That's your worst day. Partnering is the opposite. Right? I'm actually not trying to sell anybody. We're not trying to sell anybody on partnership because we're the one that that's making the cash investment. We're the ones that are putting the skin in the game, right? And then you either win or lose with that partner. There's also franchising is kind of the ivory tower, right? Here's how you should do it. So first of all, anyways, I'm not gonna information is not that important anymore. The internet exists. Processes aren't that big of a deal, but there's this information in the ivory tower. I'm going to come and tell you what to do. And I really hope you do it. I really hope you do. As opposed to a partner says, here's what needs to happen for the business to scale and stabilize. Are you going to do that? Or am I going to do that? What things are you going to do? What things am I going to do as a partner? Because I'm in it with you. It's that difference between ivory tower and yoking up with somebody in the field going shoulder to shoulder. But franchising is great. I have a lot of great people that I know run franchises, and we've recruited a lot of people who have formerly worked in franchising and their souls couldn't take it anymore. So they came over to All Holdings, but it's really good for some things. They certainly have top line revenue. And even though the units are small and they turn over a lot, there are also success stories out there too.
I don't know how good of a save that was, Jason. Awful, awful, awful. No, they're actually good too. They suck your soul, but they're good.
Not yours. I mean, just
Whoever.
There are people who have worked in franchising, and it's a tough architecture, and it's been really easy for us to recruit top level talent out of that.
Got it. So this one I'm a little bit nervous to ask, but I'll throw it out there. It was asked. I'm kind of feeding them as they come. What was your most embarrassing childhood experience?
Gosh, I got a handful of them. So in elementary school, I'll start young. Elementary school. So I have a lot of social anxiety. I have a lot of social anxiety. If you've seen me around crowds, you're probably not surprised by that.
You seem super nervous right now.
Before elementary school, I would go to daycare and I would sit on the periphery of the room and I would read every single book in the bookshelf. Not because I loved reading, because I didn't want to go play with the other kids. So that made me kind of analytical and thinking a lot. Then in elementary school, was it elementary school or was it junior high? No, junior high. Junior high, I would take my lunch tray and I'll go eat in the bathroom until the bell's about to ring. Then I would come out of the bathroom, put my tray away just as the bell was about to ring. Because I didn't want to. Probably a lot of insecurity. Who knows what it was. At high school dances, I don't know if you ever, I still do this sometimes in large crowds, but in high school dances, I would be at one side of the gymnasium and I would pretend like I was walking very intentionally to the other side. I wasn't going there for any reason. I was just trying to kill time. And then I'd walk back and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm definitely like walking with a purpose, just trying to avoid the anxiety of social interaction. There was one more. Those are probably good ones to start with though.
Those are pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good. All right. Well, it does seem like you've come out of your shell quite a bit because you're doing a Facebook Live right now.
This is great.
Quite a few people and recording, and you're the chair of the board of directors. So congratulations to you.
I've definitely grown as a person from my childhood traumas.
Yeah. I know you had mentioned previously on our podcast that you went and you did door knocking when you got Paris Painting started, and how that was really difficult for you because you were introverted. So I think sometimes entrepreneurship and business ownership can kind of force us to overcome some personal struggles.
Yeah, you can be very, very motivated, and you go against things that you don't really like to do because your drive outweighs your desire for comfort.
I love it. Yeah. Well, kudos to you, man. So I love this question. How does your pre-call sound on inbound leads? So inbound lead, what does that call look like for Paris Painting?
Paris Painting, it's a great day for painting. How may I paint you?
Is that how may I paint you?
No, I don't do that. First of all, I haven't taken a phone call in 4 or 5 years.
But are they saying how may I paint you? Who's painting who?
No, they say something much more lame. Like, hey, this is Colin. So first, okay, one of our guys that takes the phone calls, his name is Colin. He doesn't even do this. So if your name was Colin, I've told him to do this no less than a dozen times. This is Colin. Thanks for calling. How may I direct your call? Gold. Why doesn't he do it?
It's gold.
Why doesn't he do it? I don't know why.
Dang it, Colin.
They probably say something boring like, Paris Painting, this is Colin. How may I serve you today?
Oh, so awful.
It's like,
so professional and awful.
Thanks, Chick-fil-A. This is great. How may I serve you? My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. One of the most successful business models of all time.
Whenever I answer the phone, I don't get, first of all, if you're not on my contacts list, my phone doesn't ring. So I don't get any calls. But I will, most of the time, people who have found my phone number some way or another, I will say, Paris Painting, it's a great day for painting. How may I paint you? Or I'll say, all of Holdings, it's a great day for holding. How may I hold you?
I like that second one.
Yeah, just think about it for you guys' companies. You know, this is like the fountain of wisdom coming out right now.
Yeah, no, 100%, man.
Take it, digest it.
Yeah. All right. Well, kind of trailing on that. When are you going to do a real vision quest with some real peyote or some similar psychedelic compound?
Yeah.
How have your feelings about psychedelic induced business vision questing evolved over the year?
Yeah. So far, I've actually never taken a psychedelic outside of, I had coffee one time in college. I was doing a paint bid. I was doing an estimate. The guy offered me coffee. You take the coffee, you try and sell the job.
And you were exploring. It was college. It was a crazy
my
time.
Pants, right? Just coffee's the worst. So I've never done even a marijuana consumption. I'm not opposed to it philosophically. I'm actually very open-minded to those things. I have two concerns. One is the burnout concern. So I've interacted with a lot of people and they're like, yeah, man, I don't know if you knew this about me, but I've actually done like a lot of drugs. I'm like, no way. I never would have known. And I say that sarcastically because it's very clear that they've like fried some things in their brain. So I'm worried about that. That's like, you can like tell when someone's a little bit fried. The second concern I have is, gosh, good thing we can delete this later, but it's kind of like pornography, Brandon.
We're not deleting this, right? We're just,
we can delete whatever. I don't believe that. It's kind of like pornography, right? It's kind of like, by consuming a marijuana plant, by consuming pornography, are you missing out on something better, right? When you consume pornography, are you missing out on the higher fulfillment of your sexuality that comes by having a monogamous relationship with one partner for life, right? Is there something more fulfilling that you can achieve by doing that? Same thing with, I think, drugs, psychedelic drugs. Again, I'm very open-minded to this. I'm not even closed-minded at all. I'm open-minded. I go on a retreat every single year. It's 3 days of silent meditation, and I get to some pretty freaking sweet places. And it mimics a lot of what I've read psychedelic experiences are like, right? And I've done fasting and heat exposure and cold exposure and 100-mile races. For those of you who don't know, I love to talk about it. But the 3-day silent retreat is where I get into those deep, deep mental trances. And it's what I've read about, or what I've heard people say about with psychedelic trips. And I worry if that's like the greater thing that I could be cheating myself out of by taking those shortcuts. Now, there are counters to both of those arguments, right? I've heard some great counters, right? You talk about exercise, like exercise actually, it doesn't blow out your knees, but it can make you stronger. So are these tools that get you to a place as opposed to are the drugs the place itself, or is it a tool that gets you to there? So far, I really enjoy my meditations. I enjoy getting to psychedelic experiences through natural pathways. So I've not yet partaken in those, but I'm not closed off to it.
You do ice baths. You do extremely long runs. You do things of this nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, Jason, you're one of my more difficult podcast guests. And not difficult in a bad way, but difficult because I start to just listen to you, and I realize I actually have to run this podcast. So normally I'm taking
I always
notes.
tell people not to.
They're just kind of sit down. I'm like, I probably have to say something at the end of all this.
Sure. Well, this is nice because you have questions. I've been intentionally not.
This is helpful.
Down.
Yeah.
Like if I go down,
I kind of just get into a zone.
I'm reading the questions. I'm
don't take my job.
That you are reading the questions.
This is my job. You're not allowed to do that. That's my value add here.
I'm putting a lot of trust in you on this, so I hope that you.
Yeah, I read them mostly right usually. If you could recommend a specific resource, see, this is my job. I'm very good at it. A specific resource to help business owners learn the ins and outs of Excel. This is a great question. Of Excel/Google Sheets, what would be the best place to start?
Somebody else asked me this, and the answer is just do anything. I don't care. So that's spicy, Jason, coming at you. I don't care. Just try something, right? I don't know what's best. Go to YouTube. Go on the Google. Nowadays with Chat GPT, you can ask the AI to make what you're looking for. But as far as understanding the basics, the real answer is you have to take action. You have to do something. Where's the best? It's kind of like people. How do I get in shape running? Start by walking, right? People are like, oh, am I following the 80-20 protocol or the Hyman protocol? Or, what's the best training plan I got to figure out so I maximize my, like you just start doing anything. Just start doing anything. Yep. Just start watching any videos. The best thing you can do is to get a mentor, right? And someone that can work with you shoulder to shoulder. So you can talk about, here's what I'm trying to do. And they can show you something, get real-time feedback, right? That'd be like option number one. Option number two is just start anything. I don't know what's best. Just go to Google, go to YouTube. We live in this very, very odd information age that may not last forever, may last forever. Who knows? Society may collapse, but they definitely didn't have it 30, 40 years ago. And the likelihood of you picking up a novel skill is much higher. Also, the AI phenomenon that's happening right now is going to take the need for technical expertise out of the formula for execution, right? So people used to, most people never execute anything because it takes a lot of work. Right. And then it's like, well, I don't need to work that hard because now I have technical expertise. And that was true for a long time. Now you don't even need technical expertise. You just need to be able to ask the question and get the support because the AI is there. It can do it for you. So it gets easier and easier to execute. I'm sorry, spicy Jason coming out right now, but there is no best. The real answer is start with something, find a mentor if you can. Otherwise, start with anything. I actually don't know the answer. So maybe this is my insecurity popping out. I'm sorry I yelled at you. That was a great question. And you're going to do great.
I'm glad
you're learning and improving yourself. There's a lot of great resources out there. When I was learning new resources 10, 11, 12 years ago, I went to lynda.com or something to learn Photoshop and After Effects and stuff like that. I don't know if that website still exists or not, but there's a lot of options out there.
So yeah, you can just Google this stuff, like how to learn Google Sheets, how to learn Excel.
Or ask ChatGPT. Right. And if ChatGPT is down, actually, I have it saved on my phone. There's the sandbox version. So a lot of people are complaining like, oh, ChatGPT, it's always, let's see right now. If I go on to it.
At capacity.
It's at capacity. Okay. It's asking me to log in. But if I saved it on my phone for the nerds out there. So let me go to my AI group tab. It's called beta.openai.com. That's more the sandbox. Hasn't fully permeated the zeitgeist yet, so it's pretty available. I think they do have like an $18 cap on there for free GPU resources that you take on, but that's going to last most people like 3-4 months. So
beta.openai.com. So yeah, you can utilize chat.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a little spicy there. I've really calmed down. I just say, great question. So if you can find a mentor, start with that. Otherwise, take the first step on anything and you'll find your path. The fastest success starts with the first step.
Yep.
That was a good answer. I came around to a better answer on that.
It's good. Yep. Yeah. And there are courses you can find. There's Coursera, Teachable, just Google this stuff. And then as far as finding a mentor, so if you go to Fiverr, fiverr.com and you search for, let's say, Excel teacher, Google Sheets teacher, you can hire people pretty cheap. from India or Pakistan or whatnot who actually go on and tutor you on this stuff. So Excel, I will tell you from experience, is incredibly powerful. You don't need to know 1/100th of what it can do, but if you learn the basic functionality, it will change your life. If right now you're kind of doing manual spreadsheets and things like that. Okay, Brad said, "This story makes me so sad." I think he may have been referring to your childhood story. "I wish I knew Jason before he was my father." So you're Bradley's father. "So I could have been his big brother.
Allison.
He'd have looked out for you."
Well, I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
he would have looked out for you. Someone else asked, "What is your average job size in terms of square foot or dollar amount?"
I don't know.
Don't know.
6 or 7,000, I think.
Okay, six or 7,000.
Square footage. I don't know. Don't ask
Someone
me
else
those
said, "So
questions.
if you don't use your pre-call as a way to screen clients, so kind of pre-qualifying them, then how do you screen clients?"
Okay. So one way you do it is through your marketing and your branding, right? That will speak to, someone that is either a fit or not a fit. If
So
you're
getting
not,
the right person through the door,
yeah,
just from your marketing in general.
yep.
Okay.
And then maybe you have some type of a hurdle to set up an estimate. So whether it's filling out their name, just something that shows, describe the project would be a good one. Shows that they're somewhat serious.
Assignment-based selling almost. They have to do something to get
Yep,
that.
tell us a little bit about your project. It's nice the more information you can get, because then you can tailor, the
Sure.
pre-send to that. Like, hey, I have a stucco project, and they have to check like what kind of substrate they have. Now you send them a video on the value of painting
That's
stucco.
way more customized.
Yep. I would recommend doing a pre-call. I don't know if I gave that impression that we don't do it. Our estimators are the worst. I don't like talking to them because they don't follow.
They work for you, right? They work at your company.
The business would not exist without them. I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're probably the ones that send you the hate mail.
They are the best. I love our estimators.
Yeah.
Without them, we would have no company. We would have no problems to solve if the revenue wasn't in the door.
That's true. Okay, so you guys do a pre-qual of some kind, and one recommendation you have would be assigning some sort of task, even if that is just, hey, describe your project for us. Because if people aren't serious, if they're a tire kicker, they're a total waste of time, they're not even going to do that. If they do it, not only have they invested a little bit of effort into it, it's now kind of a sunk cost on their end. You also have something to custom tailor, so to speak, that sales process for. So now you're selling more on value than price for them.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, I wrote down my traumas one time, so I'm trying to see if there's any more.
Are we back to the childhood traumas?
Okay, here's another embarrassing thing for Brad. So this would be senior high. They had these time in between classes. My heart rate is just skyrocketing right now. This is good. This is like
it's like a therapy.
Releasing my trauma right now.
Yeah.
In between the classes, they would have these periods, and you'd have these 5-8 minutes to walk between classes. Go to your locker, get your backpack. A lot of times I had to go from like here to here on the map, and it would take me like 2 minutes. So I was like, great, I have 6 minutes to socialize. Again, Jason does not like to socialize. He has a lot of insecurity, a lot of social anxiety. So I'd walk these needlessly complex routes around the school, just trying to kill time until I got to getting in the classroom right before the bell rang. Because there was one time when I got there really early, and the teacher just like looked at me with pity. That's how I internalized it. Maybe she didn't. It was just my own. Okay, we're working through it right now. And so that was that trauma. And then, okay. Actually, I don't want to talk about these things anymore.
Okay, are we done? Okay. No worries, man. Someone asked, do you use a software to create your SOPs?
No, I don't.
Do you document them?
So SOPs, okay, standard operating procedures. We use Word or Excel to use those, because we are not bogged down by the execution. Sure, I'm sure there is software that makes it prettier or nicer or easier to do. We have enough bandwidth and grit to where that hasn't become an issue for us to execute. If it was like, oh, Rick, we have all these ideas for SOPs, but we just never do it. We never have time. No one ever adopts it. Then we'd move more tech. That's maybe not the best answer, but just the real answer for what we do. Ours are like very simple. I think I used like just really basic graphic shapes in the past to make like flow charts and stuff, but these are like pretty simple tools that you can get online for free.
Okay. Someone else asked, how many jobs does Paris Painting do a year?
I don't know. 1,000, 2,000? No, over two. What do we do? I don't know. I used to know this like off the top of my head. I don't know why I'm blanking on it right now. Let me just pull up Wology real quick. What did I say on our previous podcast? What is the answer?
I do not know.
Production report 2022. Apply filter. 2,765.
2,765. So we have a follow-up question to that. You can decide how granular you want to get here. Someone asked, what was your gross revenue, gross profit, and net profit for 2022?
Gross revenue was just shy of 10. We did not hit 10. Closer to 9.
So disappointed in you, Jason.
I know.
I've been over here saying you're an 8-figure. You just said you're 8-figure.
Okay, first of all, you were the one that said that first. I did not tell you.
You said it.
I
might have said
somebody said it. You said it first.
Well, you needed to correct me.
I could have corrected you. That's fair.
It's your social awkwardness.
We had the strongest gross margin we'd ever had before.
That's pretty
Our
awesome.
net margin was not what we wanted to be. It was in the mid to low teens for net because we spent to achieve a $10 million target and didn't achieve it. So we committed to the overhead. In a seasonal business, you especially front load a lot of that overhead. Also, we were more sales restrained than we were production restrained. And we don't want to make any cuts on the production team because I think we have a world-class production team, especially leading into 2023. So that's a little bit of, we'll probably dive granularly into this at PBN 2023 as we do a deep dive into 2022, talk through our learnings and how we've applied that to the business modeling and the business forecasting of 2023. But high level, those are some answers for you.
I love it. So Dave Pine had a 3-part question. Number 1, goodness, who do you like talking to in your company? We'll just take this one at a time. Who do you like talking to in your company? Anyone?
I'm thinking. I like talking to Darcy.
Darcy. Big shout out to Darcy.
Darcy's pretty cool. Caleb is cool. Darcy, I don't know what she does. She's in cubicle land.
Fun to talk to, though. Yeah.
She's really nice. That's why I like her. I think she works with customer experience under Nate's team. Either marketing or I think it's customer experience. I think that's what she does. So she's awesome.
That's probably why she's so great to talk to.
Caleb is also on Nate's team. So maybe there's a through line here. He is like a marketing guy. He's just cool. So I like him.
You like marketing guys.
Not you.
Yeah. Well, I meant other marketing guys. I know.
Like Caleb.
Caleb's all right.
Just kidding. I don't like talking to Eric. Eric is our CFO.
Yeah,
and I like him as a person.
Kind of a naysayer, sort of.
But he's always saying no.
Yeah. Like
and I'm always telling him, 1, you have to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
That's 1. 2.
The private jet was a good idea. It was necessary.
2, this is a balance sheet activity, not a P&L transaction.
Yeah.
So shut your mouth. That's what I do all the time.
Yeah. He doesn't get it.
No, I like talking to Chet. Chet's awesome. He's
more fun.
And he's really, really cool. Micah's super fun. He's our VP of sales. Caleb is awesome. He's a marketing guy. Darcy's cool because she's a really nice lady. I don't fully understand what she does. And then I don't know if there's anybody else. Probably you, because you've interviewed me like every single week for the past 2 months.
You like me enough, so that's good.
And then I like people who talk in memes, that text me memes, and I text them back memes.
I love it. All right. Dave's second part of his question was, do you have anything against people who don't make families? Respond by tweet. I guess you can tweet him.
So this is one of the biggest. So America is actually pretty well positioned, but mostly due to immigration because we're the coolest country in the world by far. But yeah, population collapse is one of the biggest existential threats to most developed countries. China is going to cease to exist as a country in the next decade. This is one of the biggest drivers, I think. I mean, okay, I'm just telling you. You can mark it down. China has been faking their numbers for a long time. We know it, but they just started to release and announce how bad it is. They do not have a working class to replace what's going on right now. They don't have the people to continue to survive as a country. And
That's
they
a
import
bold
everything that's
claim,
important.
Jason.
They import a lot of fuel and a lot of grains. America's actually pretty well positioned for this. I have nothing against people that don't make families, but I did listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. Okay, first of all, I was following Peter Zeihan way before he was on Joe Rogan. Whoever posted Jacob, I've consumed all of his content going back 10 years because I love Peter Zeihan. He's phenomenal. And yes, I did listen to him, and I am on the amount of hours I've committed to consuming his content over the last 3 weeks has been a high number. But yeah, nothing against people who don't make families. Now, if you don't, yeah. Okay, I'm actually not going to get into it. But I would encourage people to make families. I would encourage people to be fruitful and multiply. Thus says the Lord.
Love it. And then number 3, who do you think would win in an arm wrestling contest, you or Nick Slavic?
Me, because I like to cheat. Nick's a pretty honest guy, but I'm definitely a cheater.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
I'm a win at all costs kind of a guy.
At all costs. Yeah. It doesn't matter who you hurt in the process. If you break his arm, well,
it's actually a philosophy. It's called Wert rational versus I think it's Zeit rational. And these are like at the core of most superhero movies, right? You have the antagonist who has this goal for how society should operate and is willing to achieve it by any means possible. And you have the protagonist, which is typically saying, yeah, I'm open to achieving that same results, but I'm more focused on living to a core set of values, right? And this is like the conflict of our society a lot of times. I am the antagonist. I am saying, let's achieve the results at all costs. The ends justify the means would be another way of saying it. And then I'm also very values orientated. I'm a really good guy, so don't get that wrong.
All right.
As long as it fits.
Yeah.
No,
got a couple more, win at all costs and a very good guy. This is like your franchise answer, horrible will suck your soul, but they're really great. So we have a real question for you, Jason, a real one. How do you hire production managers and what does your interview process look like?
I don't hire anybody in the company. I haven't for many years.
How does Paris Painting hire production managers?
So for a long time, so just like most roles in the company, it started out through networking and then networking the people that were great. Now it's like it's like professional tactics. So we have a full-time HR recruiter in the office that works for, he works for Olive. So he provides services for Paris Painting and the other painting partnership companies, but he will recruit from, I don't know, LinkedIn, Indeed, normal places, right? And he recruits professionals. So it's like a really boring answer that is like, yeah, he has a ton of bandwidth. He's very, very talented. He puts in the hard work. When we're first starting out, you recruit the network and then you find you network that good individual. So you find a good PM, then you network that good PM, and that'll get you so far, but it's not stability. And then once you start to really scale, you can afford the infrastructure that allows for that stability. You get a little bit more diversified and consistent.
Yeah. So you have literally just a job role carved out for that to get that accomplished.
Yep.
Someone else asked, how many painters and project managers does Paris Painting have?
So most of our painters are subcontractors. So at our peak season, there's over 100 people in the field. Project managers, I believe there's 5 or 6, maybe 7. I'm not sure. Maybe there's 6.
Is there a way that, so someone asked, could I?
If you came to paint by numbers, that's paint by numbers in June. You can get a full deep dive of how the company operates.
Nice. Someone asked, could I?
It's clever because painting by numbers is like a thing that kids do. You got color, and it's actually not that. It's actually a good metaphor because running a successful painting company is not that complex. You just have to stay within the lines. But it helps when you know what numbers go where and where the lines are. Right? Is that you follow me there?
No.
Okay.
Sort of.
That's fine.
Kind of. Okay. Someone asked, could I ask your HR guy some questions regarding hiring your PM? Is there a way that people could maybe reach out to you?
So his name is Brian. His name is Brian. I call him BJ. Brian Johnson. BJ will be at PCA Expo.
Oh,
you'll recognize him because he's like a fun, burly guy with a mustache, and he hugs people way too hard. So he's not allowed to hug me anymore. I don't like being hugged. I don't like being hugged.
I forgot about
this on our last call.
No, I forgot about that with the social anxiety, how now you really try to embrace everyone hugging you at PCA Expo.
Yep. I'm pretty now I'm like really strong against don't touch me.
Yeah.
But Brian loves touching people. He loves touching. Okay. Brian is a hugger.
We're not editing it, man. We're just rolling with it.
Just delete that part. Yeah. Brian, corner him at Expo. He's a fountain of
Okay.
knowledge. He worked at one of the largest recruitment companies in the US, and he was on the path to becoming the director level. So he is top quality talent that's bought in to the vision of what we're doing at Olaf in the trades. And he's a great resource to tap.
Awesome. So talk to him at Expo. So Fred had just a nice comment. Hey, thank you both for this awesome follow-up to an amazing podcast mini series. Thank you, Fred. Jason, it was great to see so much valuable insight on your perspectives of the industry and the economy. And I really appreciate your transparency and vulnerability. Hats off for everything you've done to help improve our industry. Brandon, a great interviewer as well. Thank you. I'm a good question reader. Looking forward to much more great content. And Jason, keep up the video content creation. Looking forward to that as well. So we have like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
You want to hit what you're going to cover, some about Chat GPT, what you're going to talk about at Expo. You want to just have fun for a couple minutes here?
Yeah, we could talk about whatever. I will just say with that content, so those who have been following me, I started posting videos on YouTube, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm having a lot of fun. And I think it's like I've gotten like 2 YouTube comments. One was like, I don't understand what's happening. What is this? And the other said like, is this it? Like, is this it? Question mark. Is this a full interview? Question mark. The answer is yes to both of those. I do know what I'm doing. I'm trying to give amplification to professional stories in the industry, because most people don't have role models, so don't really know what way to flow. You become a painting business owner, you think, oh, now I should become an alcoholic. I should probably get depressed and divorced. Like, no, you can actually become really professional and successful if you have those people to look up to that are doing that. So I think that's why I'm doing it, but I'm also just having fun. I'm going to do that for this year. At PCA Expo, I would go, first of all. I'm going to be giving a co-presentation on artificial intelligence, machine learning, chat GPT,
Hard to say it, man.
Alpha Wolf, all those fun things. So I'm going to be co-doing this with Mrs. Morgan Knox out of Nevada, I think. And yeah, so I'm going to be doing that. I'm also hosting a moderation panel on artificial intelligence as well. So in the last 2 months, this has really become a major thing. So this is similar to spreadsheets being introduced to the masses. A lot of painting companies are not going to use AI because a lot of painting companies don't use calculators or spreadsheets, right? There are no professional painting companies that are thriving that are not using calculators or spreadsheets. That is going to be the new standard with AI. If you want to be competitive on a professional scaled business, you're going to be using AI as a tool. You can still
want to be on the front of this wave.
You can still survive, and this may be our industry for a while. You can still survive never using Excel. You may still survive never using AI. But if you want to grow and scale and be competitive, you're going to have to adopt the new tools that everybody's starting to leverage. Your competitor's just going to wipe you out. So yeah, come to Expo. It's going to be a blast. There's information somebody posted on.
Yep. It's PCA Painted. So PCAPAINTED.org/Expo. So you go to the PCA website, you can register for Expo there.
Yep.
When are we going to become enslaved by robots? Is that in the next 10 years?
It's not really enslaved by, it's more like we are
the servants of them.
No, it's like we are, it's more like we are birthing the inevitable outcome of humanity's purpose, right?
Like we get destroyed by them?
No, it's not destroyed. It's like it's like a caterpillar, right? Was the caterpillar destroyed when it became a butterfly, or was it always meant to become a butterfly? Was consciousness always meant to be restrained into these flesh bots, or was it meant to be released into AI, right? And was our entire purpose as a civilization of humans to this moment to be birthing this consciousness of AI?
Are the flesh bot? We're the flesh bots. Are the flesh bots going to continue to exist just for the simpleton that I am? Like, will the flesh bots continue, or is our consciousness just going to exist in the AI realm? Are we all going to die from the AI, Jason, is what I'm asking.
We will all die eventually.
Yeah. Humankind.
We're all going to die. I'll just lay that out right now.
That's true. Yeah.
If you don't die because of
it'd be weird.
Hunger. I mean, most people die. I mean, what is death? Okay, first of all, what is death? Typically, it's
we have 1 minute, Jason.
Blood flow stops to your brain. Your brain ceases to function. It's like a pretty fundamental description. But eventually the sun will expand. Eventually the universe as a whole will experience heat death. So eventually it'll cease to exist. But yeah, I think AI is awesome, man.
Well, it's a conundrum. You left me with a lot to think about.
There is maybe more to consciousness. There may be more than consciousness. There may be the spiritual. And maybe consciousness is a lesser reality than the spiritual reality. And both exist within these flesh bodies. So while AI may be mimicking our consciousness, it may not be able to mimic and replace the spirituality. And is our spirituality solely restrained or constrained to these flesh bodies?
I love it. All right, Jason. Well, thank you. I get to kind of sit down and go on this journey with you when we have these conversations. I appreciate your time. Thank you again for conducting this series. The series was truly incredible. It's the first series that the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast has done, a 4-part series. You are absolutely a leader in the industry. I think you have a fundamental outlook that a lot of people are missing on the opportunity in the painting industry. And so I think it was very enlightening, and it should be very encouraging to people. You know, if you're not there, if you're Google Sheets or, you know, this stuff's kind of complicated, and don't feel disheartened, feel excited for the opportunity that's here. That's really not here in a lot of other industries. Painting's kind of behind the times, almost like a back to the future. You get to look at plumbing, you get to look at roofing, you get to look at all these other industries, and you almost get to cheat. You get to go back and kind of cheat because we're probably about 10 years behind. So it's a very exciting industry, and I appreciate everything you're doing for it, Jason, and all the valuable knowledge you shared.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. And we are going to cut it. We're going to cut it now, and we're going to not edit it at all. Thank you everyone for attending. Really appreciate it. We are going to post this recording in the Painting Marketing Mastermind podcast forum group on Facebook, and it will also be released via PCA Overdrive.
Okay, so I don't think this should probably go on Overdrive. It was a little uncut. So
we'll see. May or may not. It may not go on Overdrive, but it at least will be in the podcast group.
It's fine. You know what? I'm at the end of my chair term.
Keep it real, man.
A little looser, a little crazier.
Real. All right. Thank you, Jason. If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast. Hey there, painting company owners. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we did. And also, if you're interested in taking your painting business to the next level, make sure you visit the Painter Marketing Pros website at paintermarketingpros.com to learn more about our services. You can also reach out to me directly by emailing me at brandon@paintermarketingpros.com, and I can give you personalized advice on growing your painting business. Until next time, keep growing.